Hello and welcome to Marty's midweek makeover. A few days ago I made over one of these Honda motorcycles and trailers. A lot of subscribers have said, why didn't you do a custom job on it, as it's screaming out for one. What I've done is I've taken 4 other motorcycles that I had in my collection and 4 other trailers, and I'm going to give them all a custom makeover. Here's my grand plan. We're going to have a Yamaha, Kawasaki, Suzuki and a Ducati. So I've paint stripped all the trailers off camera and I'm currently undercoating them with some Tamiya light grey primer. And I'll tell you what, I needed every one of those magnetic clips when I was doing this because there were so many bits and pieces. So I've cleaned out my spray gun and I'm going to start painting these primed trailers in some custom colours. Now, I'm printing out my own decals today. 2 of these trailers are going to be white, and the reason for that is that a couple of the decals are going to be on white backed decal transfer paper. So I thought I'd paint the trailers white and then the decals will go on and you won't see the backing paper. And I'm hoping they'll look quite nice. So I'm using the Tamiya paints here, suitably thinned. This trailer had a broken hitch, so instead of doing a 3D fix, I thought I'd go back to my old school style, and I fixed it with some super glue and baking powder. It's not as pretty as it could be, but it's certainly solid, and it won't be going anywhere soon. Now my next trailer is going to be this beautiful blue, and I'm just loving life at the moment. I don't have to mix any colours. I can just pick what I want off the shelf and go with it. It's so relaxing doing a custom. I never realised. I haven't really done many of them before. This Tamiya blue's come up beautifully. Now I'm going to use this yellow green from Mr. Hobby, number 16. It's a fantastically bright green. And this is for my trailer that I'm going to brand Kawasaki. The reason I picked green was because in my youth I actually had a Kawasaki, a GPZ 550, and my mother knitted me a green Kawasaki jumper with a black K on it, and I never had it off my back. Now I'm doing this one red. Once again, I don't have to do any colour matching, I just paint away. And I've got this sort of newfound freedom. So here I am again using those magnetic clips. They have a multitude of purposes, and seriously, they are a fantastic thing. You've got to get some, if there's any left. Now I've done half of these tyres already, so I'm just doing the other half. Just giving them a quick black wash to try and make them look nice again, because they're a little bit dull and scuffed up. This one here I thought I'd show you. It's an actual perfect example of a wheel. It doesn't look like it's ever been used. So I'll leave these to dry and I head down to my study and print some decals out that I've been designing. These are printed on white backed paper. I use a guillotine to chop them out. Then I stick them onto a piece of cardboard with some masking tape so they don't blow away when I spray them with some top coat. So I'm going to do that now. This top coat is Mr. Hobby version. I found both types work, this and Tamiya. They're both equally excellent. As you can see, the ink doesn't run. So back to the master plan. And I've painted all these trailers. So now it's time to put the wheels that are dried and the axles back on. Now some of the axles I made from rivet tails, most of them are originals. If you haven't got a drill press, here's something you can do. Don't despair, just get yourself a little ball peen hammer from your local hardware shop, and you can just peen the end over with about 100 minute taps, and it's something that you can do without the use of a drill press. That's how I first started putting my wheels back on. Now I'm cutting the decals out as accurately as I can. These are the white backed ones that I'm using, so they're going onto the white trailers. I bought my supply of decal paper from China via eBay. It's quite expensive, but it's great fun making your own decals. And what I like is the convenience. You don't have to order them a month in advance and wait for them to get here and pay top dollar for them as well. And then of course what happens is you may tear a transfer putting it on, and you've got to wait another month to get a replacement. So as usual, I just grip the backing sheet after it's separated from the decal, and holding it with my finger, I just drag the backing sheet out from underneath. Then I blot away any excess moisture that might be there. Now I'm on to the second one. Same deal, hold it into position and pull away the backing sheet. I make it look easy, but it's something that you get better with more practice. Now the trick here is to look from the front of the trailer and make sure that they are symmetrical, otherwise you may not notice, but one might be further round than the other. Now the Kawasaki here I printed on some clear backed paper, and it's going to go on that green trailer. This is the blue trailer that I've fixed with the baking powder and super glue. It's very sturdy. Probably could have done with a bit of filler on there. I guess I'm getting a bit lazy. Mind you, this was a big job for a midweek video, so I might have taken a shortcut here and there. I'm just making sure these aren't too long. I didn't want it to say Kawa and you had to walk around the front of the trailer and see the Saki, but I think they're good. A problem I had with the YAMAHA one here is because it's white backed paper, where you cut the edge, it reveals the white edge of the paper. So off camera I actually ran around the outside of this decal with a small dark blue felt tip pen, and it disguised the edge quite well. There was nearly a disaster there. The corner flipped up. Luckily I spotted it and got onto it there with a soft wet paintbrush and just flicked it back over. Then I squeegeed out the excess water there using that cotton bud. Now the Kawasaki, the black's not as black as I'd like it to have been. I haven't really experimented much with the clear backed decals, but when it dried it seemed to sharpen up a little bit and get a little bit darker there, and I think it ended up looking quite nice. The one in the middle, the Honda, I don't think I actually use it because I haven't got a motorbike for it, but the other ones I will. Now I'm looking at these vehicles that I'm going to be customizing today, and I actually noticed after I'd removed the paint that this one has actually been repaired before by someone. It looks like they did a similar thing to what I did on the last one. They've used super glue, and I'm guessing that that's inserted into a hole that's been drilled into the thing. They've also done something with the rear axle here by the looks of it. This side looks 100% genuine, but the other side definitely looks sus, as though maybe they've removed it, or maybe it fell out and they've put it back in somehow. Now because I'm going to be doing these up in their custom colours, and I'm going to give them different numbers too, so I've got to grind these off. So I might do that now, just using this flat bladed small file, medium file I guess you'd call it, just gently trying to not gouge the metal. Take that 7 off, not going too deep here, just enough to get rid of the 7. So, and in the process the left hand grip fell off, so I'm going to have to fix it after all. Before I do that, I just finish this front piece off with a little bit of emery paper. I think that's good enough. It's going to have a sticker on there. I looked at repairing the hand grips the same way I did the other ones, but there's actually a piece of metal stuck in the hole that was drilled, and it would be impossible for me to re-drill it without the drill wandering. So I had to rethink this and come up with a different plan. And what I decided to do was make my own handlebar assembly and mount it behind the original ones in that kind of gap. Make the gap a little bit bigger to accommodate it, and then I shall conceal them somehow to make it look like that's where they're supposed to be. And on the tank here I've taken off the Honda badge because I wanted to show that it could be done. I haven't bothered with the other ones. Anyway, here I am. I'm about to attempt to make a groove, cut a groove here above in front of the tank, but my Dremel plays up. The actual disc stopped spinning, and I realised it was worn out. So I got a new one, and eventually I made this groove in there that the leg of the bulldog clip fits into quite snugly. One end's already bent, and I thought it looked quite good, so I just bent the other end at the same angle, and there's my little handlebar assembly, and that's where it's going to go. So I'm gluing it into position again using this Starbond glue, which I'm having fun with these days. It's very fiddly, so I'm having to use tweezers. I've jacked the bike up at 45 degrees, so when I put the handlebars there, they hang in a natural position, which will, when the motorbike's back down on the ground, they should look normal. I'm going to make a little tachometer now to go onto the top of the steering head, over where I've just put that those homemade handlebars. And I'm doing it by using these pop rivets, and I've taken the collar off one and I've slipped it over another one that's in the vise, and now I've got a fresh cutting disc on my Dremel, and I'm just very carefully just grinding away at that tube and just cutting through the tube to make a ring, and that ring is going to be the bezel of the tachometer or rev counter. It's a little bit fat, so I file it down gently with some emery boards, and this is what it looks like now that it's glued into position. And it's good because it adds extra support to the homemade handlebars. And when this is painted up, I don't think anyone would notice because it's so small. For this model, I'm going to paint it satin black out of this Australian export can. I went outside to do this because it's just fun to go crazy with it occasionally. For the other motorbikes, I'm going to be using this SMS paint that was sent to me from SMS, and I'm just testing it out. I'm going to be using the raspberry red and the electric blue. So if you want some of this paint, you can get it from their site, www.scalemodeler.com.au. And I'm going to be using the silver to paint the engine and exhausts. That's my plan. So here's another one of the motorbikes to be customed. In fact, I've got another 3, so 4 in total. And I've taken the numbers off those number plates as well. There's not too much wrong with these, so I'm going to get straight into them. Now this looks great just like this. It looks like it's out of Mad Max. It's almost a shame to go any further with this one, because that satin black looks beautiful on there. Anyway, I'm sticking to the original plan. So the next motorbike, what have I got? I've got one black so far. The next one's going to be this beautiful metallic blue from SMS Paints. And they're in Melbourne. They're a local Melbourne company. And the paint goes on beautifully. It's pre-mixed in these pots. Didn't realise till I read the label. So you just give them a shake and you spray it straight from the bottle. So yeah, there's no mixing, you just pour it straight in there, no thinning. They're very convenient. And it goes on an absolute treat. I was very pleased with these paints. I'm racking my brains to think, what else can I do with them, because they're so good. For the fourth bike, I thought I would use this metallic copper, which is a Tamiya colour. And this went on pretty good too. So I've got 3 metallic paints and 1 in flat black, or satin black. That's lovely, that. I was going to use this super silver for the engine, but I tipped it in a shot glass and realised that because it's pre-thinned, it was just too runny. I mean, look at this, it's all evaporating in there. It was too runny for me to use on the models. I'd have to put about 10 coats on. It's really primarily just for spray painting. So instead I go back to Tamiya silver chrome that I had on the shelf, and I just use what's left in the pot, and there's not a lot there, I can tell you. I've got to put that on my shopping list, get some more of that. So I think these represent disc brakes on the front and back, those larger discs, so I painted those silver. There's the tachometer painted, and the engine chain, shock absorbers, a few bits and other pieces. I'm using these photographs I downloaded for inspiration, although funnily enough I don't end up branding this particular motorbike as a Honda, even though I'm kind of using a Honda picture for inspiration. It's one of these things, every time you turn the model you see a bit you've missed, and then you go back to where you've been and you see another bit you've missed, and it took absolutely hours for me to paint these. Once again, those magnetic clips come in and very handy. Now I'm going to print these numbers off on this white decal paper. First up, I'm going to coat them with some of that top coat again to seal the ink in, otherwise it will bleed, you see. If you don't do that, when you put them in the water the ink can run, then you've got to start again. Now we've had this machine for years and we completely forgot about it. It was my wife's, Julie's, and she got bored with it. It's been gathering dust in her cupboard, and somebody mentioned it to me the other week. You should get one of these, and I thought, hang on, we got one. And I never even thought to use it for cutting out decals. So now I've been playing around with this, and it's extremely accurate at cutting. It's just a little bit slow, but if you've got plenty of time on your hands, it's pretty cool to use it and watch it cut the decals out so accurately. Like, to try and cut these ovals by hand, practically impossible. This thing did it in, well, probably four minutes or so, 3 or 4 minutes. So here they are, and they're absolutely tiny. Look at this, having to pick them up with tweezers, put them into position with a cocktail stick. It's such a small surface area, I thought I'd put a dab of that decal softening and extra adhesion fluid, whatever it's called. Forget what it's called now, but they recommend it. Ask at your local model shop if you want to get some. And here I'm trying to get rid of the water and the thing's floating all over the place. Very frustrating. Coax it back into position. And you know what? I'm happy with that. Looks quite quite fine. Now I was looking at these thinking, where shall I put these stickers? Shall I shallow or shana? I thought, yeah, go for it. It makes it look more like a racing motorbike. The more stickers you put on it, the better, I guess. And it came to my attention that these models came in two types, like a male and a female. And it's all to do with the side panel. On this one, for example, it's ribbed. And this side is rounded. And you get the exact opposite on some other models. So that was my Kawasaki. This is my DUCATI. I based this loosely on an old vintage vehicle that I had a picture of. This is my Yamaha. This is my personal favourite. Let me know which one yours is your favourite. I like this one. I also did a bit of dry brushing around the engine with some black paint on a dry brush, just to try and highlight the fins and the edges of the motor. That's my Suzuki. It's Sunday morning and these amateur racing enthusiasts meet at the local Snetterton circuit to race each other on their vintage motorcycles. Oh, here comes Michael. He's running late today. Must have slept in. These five pals have great fun chasing each other around the track all day. They're all very pleased that nobody fell off today, and all their beautiful motorbikes are still in pristine condition. To their surprise, Michael on the green Honda had the fastest lap time today. He puts it down to his machine being the lightest of the bunch. It even sports a homemade lightweight side stand that Michael made. He's so pleased with himself. He's going to make sure they don't forget this day in a hurry. After the race, all the pals get together down at the local pub, the Curry Garden. They have their usual, a pint of speckled hen and a vindaloo curry. They chat about their exploits of the day and have a great old time. All except for Michael. He's a milkman, you know. He has to get up in the morning, so he made his excuses and disappeared home. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Marty's Matchbox Makeovers. Goodbye.